I just read a 400 plus page romantasy. Yes, 400 plus page romantasy. And I have feelings. I have feelings, and I want to discuss them with you because I'm left wondering who approved this epilogue. I need to speak to the manager. I need to speak to the manager. Welcome to my channel. My name is Alexis Brianna, and this is not our typical setup. This is not our typical situation, but after reading the book I just read, which shall be nameless, we're not going to name the author or the book. I said I deserve either a snow cone, a Texas-sized sweet tea, or a cake. And because of the time of the day, I don't think I'm going to be able to get the cake. So I am pulling in to get some tea. So grab something to drink or grab something to eat. And we're going to have a conversation about misleading endings, series, money grabs, reader expectations for certain genres, and I don't know, maybe escapism for escapism's sake. I don't know. We're going to get into a lot of things. So let's get something to drink. Okay, so picture this. You have started a trilogy. You read the first book, you love it, the characters are great, they're funny, you're laughing, there's dialogue, there's action, there's all of the things that you want in your romantasy, right? And so you're like, I can't wait until the second book comes out. So second book comes out after a year. Again, everyone in that previous book has a happily ever after. It's wrapped up in a nice bow. So you get to the second book. You're reading the second book. Things are, going great, if you will. So you get to the second book and you have certain expectations, right? Because it's a romantasy. It's a romantasy. So you have certain expectations. So you're reading the book. Pacing is good. You're expecting new challenges. Those new challenges come up. They talk about some of the challenges from the other thing because it's a similar timeline. So, of course, they got to bring stuff from the other book into it to see their perspective. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, get it, all of that. I will say there wasn't much action in this one. Like, you didn't get the details of the action until like the last chapters, right? So you're 95% into the book. The action is finally happening. And mind you, I'm not realizing it's the last chapter, okay? I'm thinking there's more to go. So I get to the last sentence, because I'm reading it on my phone, right? I get to the last sentence on the chapter, or the last chapter, scroll past, and we're in the epilogue. And it's of a character that we haven't even had this perspective the whole book. We haven't had the perspective the whole book. And I'm like, what in the world? Okay, I've read this author before, so I'm like, I'm confused. Okay. But the epilogue, let me just check. I don't want to lie. I don't want to try. I think it was like 20 years later from where we ended. 20 years. 20 years later. So we don't even get like the full action, the action of the action scene. It literally leaves you on a cliffhanger. The last chapter literally leaves you on a cliffhanger, and the epilogue drops you off in a new perspective that, yeah, you've met the character in the book, but you haven't been reading their perspective. So that's not even the best part about the epilogue. It gets worse. I had to turn the car around because the sun was moving and it was getting hot. It was getting hot, but I got to hurry this up. I'm running low on time. So where was I? Epilogue. Yes. So not only was the last chapter rushed, not only was the epilogue 20 years in the future from a perspective of someone we hadn't had a perspective of or a point of view from in the book, they also decide to literally, what's the best word I can say this? Smash, destroy, ruthlessly annihilate the happily ever after from the first book. Literally, in the epilogue, it says that several of the main characters that were a part of their own happily ever afters were unalived in this grand big battle that apparently happened sometime between where the last chapter ended and the epilogue started. So in that 20-year span. Not only that, we don't get any details about this big battle. We're left in the aftermath. But oh, by the way, the people in the current book, in the second book, they get their happily ever after. But never you mind the people in the first book. Now I get it. Technically, this is a romantasy. So maybe we're pulling on the fantasy portion of that genre. But yeah, no. If you spend 400 plus pages world building, building relationships, getting me invested in these characters and their love story and all of the things, and you literally in the last chapter at the start, not even during, the start of a major action scene, come on. When I tell you I wanted to, where's the manager? Where's the editor? Publisher? Where are you? Like who approved this? And maybe I'm being a little dramatic, because yes, it's just a book. However, the world feels like it is literally on fire. And I personally feel, this is my opinion, that you need a safe place to go to just escape for a little bit. Yes, there are things that we need to be active about for activism, and things that we need to change and all of those things. But yes, there is a certain safe space that you need to a hobby that you can have where you can escape and just woosah, because this was not the world that I thought I was going to inherit, okay? This was not my expectation of the world that I thought I was going to live in when I was a child. But that's neither here nor there. I just want to say all that to say, sometimes I just want to escape when I read. And before the escapism police come into my comments, okay? I do read books to escape, but I also read them to challenge myself, to grow, to learn, to do all of the other things, right? Like, to challenge myself, like, with the type of literature and my mindset. Yes, there are those books for that, but I also read to escape. So when I pick up a book that I want to read for escapism purposes, and I spend hours of my good time reading it, getting invested into the characters, getting invested into, are they going to get, whatever the rainbow at the end of the road is, right? And it feels like in the last 20 pages, the author decides to set everything literally on fire for the sake of drama? For the sake of, you want me to read the next book in the trilogy? I'm disappointed. I'm upset. But more than that, it really feels like what's the word? It really feels like a betrayal of readers' trust. It does. That's what it feels like. It feels like a betrayal of readers' trust. Okay, so here's what I think it comes down to. I think it comes down to communication and managing readers' expectations. If you're writing a series and you know that it's not going to be happily ever after, it's, not going to be, wrapped up in a nice bow, then give that warning. Like give that warning ahead of time, right? In the description or in the marketing. Definitely don't market it as a happily ever after. I think also, if one of your books in the series is going to end on a cliffhanger, that's also something that should be written as a warning. I can't think of what it's called, but written as a warning in the description area. That's also something. I think also, as publishers, editors, and whoever else is involved in reviewing a author's work or how it's being marketed, I also think there's a responsibility to, again, warn readers, especially if it's a departure from what an author typically does, or if it's a departure from what is typical in that genre. I think it is the responsibility of those marketing that, so people don't feel like it's a betrayal of trust, so they don't feel like the rug is being pulled from underneath them. I'm not saying that everything has to be tied up in a pretty bow, right? It doesn't have to have a happily ever after. I'm all for complex and intricate and intentional endings, but I think there is a distinct difference between ending a book intentionally, complexly, and it's well thought out, versus an ending that feels like emotional manipulation. Look, I know that every book isn't for every reader. And as readers, we bring our own baggage and thoughts and past reading history and I don't know, we bring all of that to the table when we're reading these works of art. We're reading from these authors. We bring all of that to our reading, you know, and also know that sometimes you have a certain expectation when you're reading a certain genre. It just felt like the writer was writing for so long and already it's at 400 plus pages. And I can't make this into a 4-part book series because I said it was going to be a trilogy. So I'm going to blow everything up, end it here, and that's it. We're just going to move on to the next book. That's what it felt like. It felt lazy. It felt lazy. And I get it. I know it's just a book. However, again, when you invest your time into reading and supporting and it feels like the work that you're reading, it's like why would you do that? Yep, we're going to end it there because I am now running late and I got to wrap this up. So I'm not trying to be messy. I am not going to say who the author is. I'm not going to say who the series is. I'm not going to say what the book is because that is not the intention of this. The reason why I wanted to talk about this is to get it off my chest and to let it go. Let it go. But also just like to have conversation about intentionality when it comes to books, especially when you're spending a lot of time as an author writing and we're spending a lot of time as the readers reading. And it's like, again, intention and complexity and challenging me. Yes. Laziness. No. No. Anyways, let me know in the comment section. What are your thoughts? Have you felt this way when it comes to books? Like, I'd love to have some dialogue. I would like to have kind dialogue. I know we all have different perspectives and different opinions. But let's be kind. Let's be kind to one another. The world is already on fire. You don't need to add to it, okay? If you've made it to this part of the video, thank you so much for hanging out and letting me vent and all these things. Be sure to comment a fire emoji in the comment section. And yeah, until next time, happy reading. Bye, y'all.